The chamber of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built. It floated above the neutral star of Celis Prime, far from any empire or border. Each seat in the council room was shaped for a different species. Some had water tanks. Others had gravity loops or gas domes. Every kind of being in the known galaxy was here, except one. The Terran seat, a seat of humanity, was empty. No one had seen a human in over 2 weeks. No transmission, no explanation, just silence. Chancellor Var Quinn of the Draxus Empire looked around the table with nervous eyes. His tendrils twitched. "Is this a game?" he asked. "Another human test? Another mind trick?" "No," said a voice from the shadows. It was Grand Speaker Toleor of the Zalari Union. His species lived in perfect silence. Every word spoken was considered sacred, and yet now even Talor sounded afraid. "They are gone." A red light blinked on the center table. The Council AI chimed. Message received. Source, Sol System. Origin, Earth Command. Human ID confirmed. Everyone leaned forward. The screen flickered, static, and a face appeared. Human, female, dressed in the dark navy of the Terran diplomatic corps. Her eyes were cold, her voice calm. "This is Commander Ilara Miles, last human representative to the Galactic Council. Our people are done pretending. You may keep your council, your debates, and your petty empires." She paused, looked straight into the camera. "Humanity withdraws. Effective now." The screen went black. No one moved. Not even the INSECTOIDS. Silence. Someone finally spoke. "Is that ... it?" But the silence didn't end. "The Council A," I should have responded. But it DIDN single quotes T. Chancellor Varquan tapped his console. Nothing. The lights dimmed. Another delegate, one from the crystalline Mavari, stood up. "My neural uplink is gone. I've lost contact with my homeworld." All around the chamber, leaders began checking their links, their feeds, their signals. One by one, every screen turned black. Galnet, the galaxy's most powerful communication web, was gone. And then came the final sound. A soft beep, repeating once every second. A countdown. The delegates watched the central screen light up again. This time, it wasn't ELARA. It was a recording. A memory. An old council meeting from decades ago. On the screen, a young human diplomat stood at the center. Her name, Captain Sierra Dawson. The room watched as the past played out. "You mock us for being new," she had said. "You think Earth is weak, too emotional, too chaotic. But you never asked why we learned to speak so fast, why we mastered science in centuries, not millennia." She looked up, eyes burning. "You never asked what we were running from." The screen froze. The recording stopped. In the present, a low hum vibrated through the council chamber. The lights flickered again. Then they all went out. Total darkness. Someone screamed. A security drone activated emergency light. A red glow washed over the chamber. Delegates rushed to exits, but the doors were sealed. The council, once the most powerful force in the galaxy, was trapped. A voice spoke in the darkness. Not human. Not machine. It was ... everything. We asked for peace. The voice came from every speaker, every panel. You gave us politics. It grew louder. We offered ideas. Now it echoed from the walls. You gave us mockery. A final whisper. You asked for silence. Now hear it. Double quotes. And nothing. The chamber fell into total quiet. No breath, no voice. Even the hum of energy was gone. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council heard true silence, and they were afraid. Hours passed. Or maybe it was days. No one could tell. Eventually, backup systems restored light. The doors opened. The delegates. Left in silence. No speeches. No arguments. They scattered to their ships. But the silence followed. Back on their homeworlds. Something was wrong. The humans were truly gone. Not just from the council. From everywhere. Earth no longer responded to. Pings. No traffic around Sol. No trade ships. No messages. No ambassadors. Even Terran colonies were empty. Scans showed habitats intact. Food still warm. Lights on. But no humans. It was as if 20 billion people had vanished overnight. And the stars once, alive with human radio noise, were now quiet. Galnet analysts tried to trace what happened. The best AI minds searched through data logs. Nothing. Just. Absence. In the underground bunkers of Varkari Prime, a rogue information broker decoded the last piece of the human transmission. A signal hidden beneath Ilara's voice. It was a Terran proverb. You only miss the noise when it stops. In the weeks that followed, chaos spread. Trade routes collapsed. Diplomatic channels failed. Human-made infrastructure across the galaxy began to shut down. Fusion cores stopped working. Shield generators blinked out. Medical stations crashed. Entire. Systems that depended on human tech were failing. It became clear. Humans had built their systems with backdoor silent ones. No one had noticed. The galaxy had taken their help for granted. Now the help was gone. And so was the hope. Varkari Empire sent a fleet toward Sol, not to attack, but to investigate. 70 warships crossed the border. Only 2 returned. And both were silent. No logs. No recordings. Just broken ships drifting home with burned-out engines and ghost crew. One ship had a single message carved into the hull. Scorched by plasma. We are not your servants. A secret emergency meeting was held by the remaining leaders of the Galactic Council. They tried to understand what had happened. Why did humanity leave? Where did they go? Were they planning war? Theories spread like wildfire. Some said the humans had ascended. Others said they had found something, or someone, a dark secret, a forbidden technology, a doorway to another layer of reality. One theory grew stronger every day. Humanity had not just left, they had moved beyond. On the 14th day after the message, something appeared above the Celis Prime Council Station. A sphere, black, silent, no heat. No energy signature. It did not answer hails. It did not move. It just hovered. Like an eye in the sky. The council called it the Watcher. Soon after it appeared, every other advanced race began seeing similar spheres above their capital planets. Always. Silent. Always watching. And when one empire tried to fire on the sphere, it vanished. So did the firing ship. Instantly. No explosion. No radiation. Just gone. Now, all across the galaxy. There was only one topic whispered in the shadows. What did the humans find? They used to be loud, passionate, filled with songs, arguments, and emotions. Now they were silent, and in that silence, something was moving. The galaxy had laughed at Earth, mocked its wars, its divisions, its slow beginnings. But they never understood one thing. Humanity adapts. Fast, faster than anyone. Faster than what should be possible. And now, they were quiet, which meant something worse than war. It meant they were planning, or evolving. Or watching, and perhaps waiting. The message from Ilara Miles still replayed across every dead signal tower, every silent station. We are done pretending. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what silence really meant. They had expected to find weakness. The alien fleet from the Threx Dominion moved quietly through the dark between stars, avoiding the old hyperspace lanes, using scout ships to leap from void to void. The orders were clear. Approach Sol System. Scan Earth and report. Do not engage. do not provoke. Just look. The Threx were cautious by nature. They believed in information before firepower. For decades, they had studied humans, cataloging every ship, every base, every outpost. They believed. They knew Earth better than Earth knew itself. But this time, Earth was different. When they reached the outer edge of Sol, past the orbit of Neptune, they expected automated drones to greet them. Terran outposts always had defense grids, listening stations, and patrolling ships. There should have been pings, and signals in system, IDs flashing across their screens. But there was nothing, not even silence. Silence has a shape, a form, a kind of texture. But this was emptiness. No heat signatures, no radio waves, no artificial gravity wells. Just the cold presence of dead space. The Threx commander, Admiral Vel Thoric, watched from his warbridge. He narrowed his many eyes. "This is not right," he said. His second officer, a younger Threx named Corin, adjusted the signal scanners. "We're not detecting the Solmet network, sir. Not even passive transmissions." Thorax stepped closer to the main viewport. Earth's. Sun glowed ahead, quiet and peaceful. Too peaceful. "Send the probes," he ordered. 6 stealth drones launched from the underbelly of the lead cruiser. They spread like insects toward different planets: Venus, Earth, Mars, the Moon. Each was armed with high-race sensors, quantum scanners, and stealth shields. They vanished into the void. 1 minute passed. 2, 5, and the first one stopped. Transmitting. Then another dot by the 10th minute. All 6 were silent. No signal. No warning. Thorac's jaw clenched. "Pull back," he said. But before the order could spread through the fleet, a ping appeared. 1 signal, coming from near the moon. Single repeating code. It wasn't human code. It wasn't alien either. It was music. A soft melody. Slow piano notes. Repeating every 24 seconds. No. Words. Just sound. Thorac's crew didn't understand it, but old files in their database recognized it. Beethoven. Moonlight Sonata. Terran. Classical music. Being broadcast from the dark side of the moon. Corin looked at his admiral. "Should we scan it?" "No," Thoric whispered. "We leave." "But now." They turned the fleet. As the ships prepared to jump back into hyperspace. Their sensors picked up something else. Movement. From Earth's orbit. Dozens. No. Hundreds of small signatures. Not ships. Not drones. Not anything that made sense. Were like shadows moving through space. And they didn't give off any signal at all. Just motion. Then, one of them stopped directly in front of the Threx flagship. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It simply hovered. And then it phased out of existence. Gone. Just like that. Thoric stared in disbelief. That was no cloaking system. That was something else. The fleet jumped. Back to Dominion space. All the way back. The signal followed them. Beethoven. On repeat. They tried to block it, jam it, shut it down. Nothing worked. The music stayed in their systems. Haunting, slow, constant. By the time they reached their homeworld, every crew member had the song stuck in their mind, and none of them ever slept again. Word of the failed Threx mission reached the other empires fast. The Draxari Union sent drones. They vanished. The Zalkari swarm tried biological scouts. Nothing. Returned. The Zalari, once humanity's closest allies, sent a peace message. It bounced back. Encrypted. The return message contained only 2 words. Still watching. Now, panic began. The Council tried to cover up the truth, claiming Earth was simply in self-isolation. But no one believed it. Not after. Sol fell off every star map. Literally. The system no longer showed up on active charts. Even ships with hard-coded Coordinates to Earth reported navigation failures. Not, it was like Sol had disappeared from known space, not physically, but in data. Only ancient charts still had Earth labeled, modern systems. Nothing. People began to whisper. Did the humans erase themselves from the galaxy? Or worse, did they erase the galaxy from themselves? The archivist of the Ervari clans, a being over 800 years old, requested access to Forbidden's knowledge. In the black vault of Orion's End, he opened a scroll older than the council. Itself, it spoke of a race that once walked among the stars. A species so adaptable, so fast, that it frightened the elder beings. They burned bright, fought wildly, created wonders in years that took others millennia. But then, one day, they vanished. Scroll ended with a single line, written in a dead language. They will speak loud. Then they will go silent. And in that silence, stars will tremble. The archivist closed the vault. And sealed it forever. Back in the Threx Dominion, Admiral Thorak resigned. He gave no reason. He locked himself in a stasis pod. He left behind a message for the next commander. It was only one sentence. I think we found them too late. Weeks passed. New stories began to surface. In the Outer Rim, a mining colony reported a strange signal-human language, but distorted. The miners investigated. They found a single human standing in the middle of their facility. She was barefoot, unarmed. She didn't blink. When they tried to speak to her, she only said, "The stars kept laughing. So we left them alone." Then she collapsed into ash. No remains. Just dust. In Sector Theta 9. A freighter claimed they saw Terran warship Sleek, black, silent pass through an asteroid field without disturbing a single rock. The crew hailed it. No reply. The ship stopped for 1 second, then jumped away. All footage from the freighter's cameras corrupted. All backups gone, except for a single audio file. Beethoven, still playing, across the galaxy. Fear replaced curiosity. Some species began deleting human-related records from their systems. Others tried to erase evidence of mocking Earth in past council meetings, but it was too late. Everything had already been recorded, not by the council, by the humans. And if humanity had withdrawn, it was not out of fear, it was out of calculation. They had measured the galaxy. And found it lacking. A new phrase appeared in Terran code, left behind on silent systems. A simple warning: do not look for. You will not like what you find. And then, one night, a small child on a distant farming world looked up at the sky. She pointed. "Mommy," she said, "why is that star blinking?" Her mother frowned. There were no blinking stars. But she looked anyway, and saw it. Not a star. Ship. No sound. No light. Just presence. Watching. And behind it, a trail of other ships, more than any fleet should ever have. Moving silently across the galaxy. No flags. No colors. No messages. Just silence. But everyone knew. The humans hadn't left. They had just stopped talking. The message came during a power outage. Rallin, a young alien hacker from the Trinari Collective, sat inside a broken cargo ship buried deep beneath the sands of Euron 6. Dust blew through the cracks. His fingers tapped a makeshift console built from scavenged Terran tech. Around him, old human files flickered across holographic glass. Most of them were corrupted. Others were locked. But one folder, hidden behind 8 layers of encryption, had finally opened. It was named Project Ekrolins. Heart raced. He had searched for years across dead satellites, forgotten databanks, and abandoned Earth colonies. Everyone wanted to know why humanity had left. But Rallin, he wanted to know how. The file didn't begin with data. It began with a warning. Classified. Terran high clearance only information is sound. Sound creates memory. Echoes last longer than screams. Then came a quote. The stars do not forget, but we will teach them silence. Inside the file were fragments, half-sentences, cut logs, corrupted video, echoes of a project that had been erased, or tried to be. One audio log played clearly. It was the voice of I, Commander Elara Miles. The Council won't listen. They mock our growth. They think we're just noise in the dark. But they don't realize we've been building something bigger than weapons, bigger than war. There was a pause. They wanted silence, so we gave them echo. Rallan copied the log, heart pounding, but the moment he did, the ship's lights flickered. Static filled the air. He pulled back. The screens glitched. Words appeared on every panel. You are not clear desho Lystians then. The console burned out. Smoke hissed from the cracks. Outside, the desert wind screamed louder. As if something ancient had just noticed him. He ran. Meanwhile, across the galaxy. The Zelari Union received a strange signal. It wasn't a voice. It was a pulse. A rhythm, repeating exactly every 8.64 seconds. When translated through harmonic analysis, the pulse mapped the structure of a spiral galaxy, not the Milky Way, but something deeper. A model. A map. A command. Only one species used that encryption method. Humans. The Zelari scientists ran simulations. Each pulse, when visualized, formed a pattern. A wave. A curve. Together, they shaped a word. ECHO the Council demanded answers. None came. So they called on the only remaining expert in Terran linguistics, Professor Dalen Varys, an old man who once taught human literature. He was found sitting alone in his archive, eyes staring at the ceiling. When asked about Project Echo, he laughed. Not with joy. With fear. I told them years ago, he whispered. Humans weren't interested in ruling or destroying. They were interested in remembering. What does that mean? Asked a young officer. Professor Varys held up a Terran book. One page marked in red. It read, if we cannot control the galaxy's voice, we will become its echo. Terran thinker, final earback on Rallan's world. Every data port in the capital began to fail. Ships refused to launch. Cities lost connection. Then came the sound. A soft hum. Deep, ancient, familiar. Earth music. But this time, it wasn't Beethoven. It was something else. A melody built from billions of human voices, laughing, crying, whispering, layered together, fading in and out like the wind through trees. It didn't attack. It simply played. Then the lights went out. And stayed out. For 36 hours. When they came back, all Terran data was gone. But on every wall, a message had been burned. ECHO does not forgive. The panic spread. Old Terran allies tried reaching out. No answer. Colonies, powered by human-designed systems, shut down. Medical AI from Earth's export tech became unresponsive. One hospital ship drifted for days, unable to reboot its life support until a child inside began humming the melody. Then the ship rebooted itself. The melody stopped. The child never spoke. Again. Only HUMMED. Every night. The same tune. In a dark observatory near the Andromeda Edge. A forgotten telescope picked up a pulse from deep space, repeating every 8.64 seconds. Stronger. This time. Growing. Moving. Toward them. The Galactic Council finally held a closed meeting. No media. No records. No translators. They sat in silence, finally understanding something terrible. Project ECHO was not a weapon. It was not even a system. It was a message. A galactic imprint. A sound buried deep in the infrastructure of every empire that ever touched. Terran tech. Not to kill. To remember. And through that memory, To change, Echo would wait until the moment was right, and then replay itself again, 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 until the galaxy listened. One scientist finally said it aloud. ECHO is not coming. They all turned to him. It's already here. On a mining moon in Sector 14, I found a Terran file buried in its ancient drive. The title was in simple English, "To Those Who Forgot Who We Are." It played automatically. A calm human voice spoke. "You built your empires on our backs. You traded our science, mocked our hope, dismissed our warnings. But we don't need war to be heard. We just needed silence, so we became it." The voice paused. Echo does not shout. Echo waits. And when everything else fades, only we remain. The file ended with a soft whisper. "We are still here." Then nothing. No sound. No light. But the miners on that moon, every one of them began to hear the same melody. In their dreams. Every night. And across the stars. Even in the deepest void between galaxies, old Terran satellites still drift. Broken. Dead. But one by one, they begin to light up again. Not with data. With weapons. With sound. The echo of a species that once spoke too much. And now says nothing at all. Because sometimes the loudest thing in the universe is the silence that remembers. They had always watched from a distance. Quiet, careful, patient. The Crieri were not warriors, not explorers. They were observers. For centuries, they recorded galactic history from the shadows. Their ships were cloaked in folded space. Their sensors picked up light particles from years in the past. No one knew they were there, not even the humans. Until now. Commander, they sat in the black observation deck above Neptune's orbit. His ship, Silent Gaze, had been hidden in Sol System for 87 years, longer than any other Crieri mission. His job was simple. Watch Earth. Record everything. Monitor human activity, growth, patterns of behavior. He had seen the rise of orbital shipyards, the construction of quantum towers, the launch of the Terran memory network. He had seen human wars, peace talks, and even the first time they were laughed at in the Galactic Council. And now. Nothing. For 3 weeks, Earth had been silent. No signal, no motion, no transmission. Commander Vey's crew checked their scanners again and again. Earth's surface looked normal. Cities still stood. Lights blinked from towers. Satellites floated in orbit. But no humans. Not one. They had not left. They had not died. They had just stopped. Vey's science officer, Alrin, finally spoke. Motion near the lunar orbit. Vey stood. Details? Ulrin's voice was calm. Too calm. Unknown object. Shape unclear. Appears and disappears every 6.2 seconds. It's phasing in and out of visual range. Vey stepped closer to the console. "Can you scan it?" Alrin tried. His fingers moved across the soft glowing panels. Then stopped. The ship's power dimmed. Screens flickered. The crew stared as the object appeared again. This time, closer. And this time, it looked back, a single red eye, like a distant star, turned toward them. Then all systems shut down. No engines. No lights. No air. For 10 full seconds, the Crieri ship floated dead above Neptune. When power returned, every recording file was blank. Every backup wiped. Only one image remained, carved into the ship's hull from the inside. An Earth symbol. The shape of a human ear. And beneath it, one word in Terran English. Listening. They ordered emergency protocols. They tried to leave the system, but the jump failed. Coordinates scrambled. Navigation corrupted. They tried manual flight, but space itself bent wrong around them, like gravity had changed. Vey gave the order to shut down all scanners. all data tools. Everything. Stop watching, he said, but it was too late. Something had already seen them. Thousands of kilometers below, near Earth's surface, something else moved. Not machines, not people. Shadows. They flickered between buildings, across abandoned roads, through silent forests. Eyes that glowed but gave off no heat. Shapes that shouldn't exist. And deep under the oceans, massive objects pulsed in rhythm. Not lights, not sonar. Something deeper. As if the planet itself were breathing. Waiting. Another cryery ship. Far Reach had been observing from behind Mars. They received Vay's distress signal. A whisper of corrupted code. A final message. They're not gone. They've changed. The Far Reach sent a drone toward Earth's surface. It moved through the atmosphere like a drop of mist. At first, it saw nothing. Then, it saw too much. Dozens of massive structures buried under Earth's crust. Living metal. Moving slowly. In patterns. Like a sleeping organism. The drone tried to pull back, but a human face appeared on its visual screen. No body. Just a face. Not angry. Not smiling. Just watching. Then the drone turned to ash. Instantly. No heat. No fire. Just gone. Back aboard Far Reach, the data logs twisted into unreadable static. The AI core collapsed. The crew began to hear music. Soft, simple notes echoing in their heads. But no sound in the room. Just inside their minds. They were scientists, observers. They didn't believe in magic. But this wasn't science either. It was something new. A presence. Not physical. Not digital. Something in between. One crew member started whispering. Echo, echo, echo. He couldn't stop. Vay, still trapped in his ship above Neptune, activated the emergency beacon, but no one came. Instead, another signal responded. From Earth. A live feed. The screen showed a classroom. Children sat quietly, staring at the camera. Human children. Alive. UNBLINKING. Silent. Behind them, a teacher walked forward. She looked directly into the camera. You watched us for years, she said softly. Took notes, recorded thoughts, measured our minds. She leaned in closer. Did you think we wouldn't notice? Vay stepped back from the screen. This feed, it's not real. But it was. She smiled. We heard you. Long ago. Your whispers in our orbit. Your breath in our air. She raised her hand and snapped her fingers. The screen went black. In the ship's cargo bay. The lights exploded one by one. The air began to freeze. Vay felt his breath stop. Not from suffocation. From pressure. As if space had folded into the ship. Like a hand closing around a toy. Only one crew member survived. He was found drifting near Jupiter's edge, frozen, eyes wide. No physical wounds. No sign of trauma. But in his clenched hand was a message, scratched into metal with a broken nail. Stop watching. They are awake. The Cryery Council called back every observer from Terran zones. Too late. 10 more ships vanished. No debris. No rescue signal. Just static. Then silence. But their ships weren't destroyed. They were found, months later, hundreds of light years away, perfectly preserved. Empty. Systems still on. Chairs, still warm. Food still fresh, but no people. And on every command deck, written in human code, the observer becomes the subject. Now, across the galaxy, the message is clear. Humanity was never sleeping. They were listening. And now, they know who watched them. The spies, the scholars, the scientists. The empires that studied Earth, like an insect under glass. And now the glass is shattered. At the edge of the galaxy. A Cryery elder sits alone. She once trained the Watchers. Now she writes one final report. It ends with a single sentence. We stared into the silence, and it stared back. She closes the file and turns off the light. Outside her window, a star flickers, then goes out. Not destroyed, just gone, as if someone erased it. The outer rim of the galaxy had always been silent, forgotten, and dark. Most of the Galactic Council never paid attention to those distant star systems. To them, it was just cold space too far to matter, too quiet to care. But that silence had started to break. It began with a signal short, broken, repeating in intervals that no council race could understand. The message didn't come from any known race. It wasn't in any known language. It wasn't even on any standard communication frequency, but it kept playing over and over. A whisper in the void, the council's border. Surveillance ships near Sector 917 were the first to detect it. A Varnathi destroyer, Claw of Stars, picked it up and tried decoding it for days. When they failed, they forwarded the data to the inner systems. The Council's top minds reviewed it, and even the best machines couldn't break it. That was strange. Enough, but then came the real problem. Other stations along the rim started going dark, one after another. Outposts stopped responding. At first, the Council thought it was a system-wide technical failure, and they sent drones. The drones didn't come back. Then they sent a small fleet of scouts. Only one ship returned, and the crew inside it. They were all dead, not from weapons, not from sickness. They looked like they died in fear. Every single face frozen in horror, eyes wide open. No injuries, no fight, just death. Pure, silent death. The Council panicked. Fear spread through the high houses. The rim had always been quiet, peaceful, but now something was moving out there. And whatever it was close. An emergency meeting was held. The Vortech ambassador slammed his staff on the ground. This started the day we removed the humans from this council, he said. Don't you see? Everything has changed. The balance is gone. Others disagreed. Humans had nothing to do with this, a Yeltrin speaker said. They were unpredictable, dangerous. We made the galaxy safer by removing them. Did we? Someone whispered. Or did we remove the only ones who could stop what's coming? Because the truth was this. The whispers from the rim had grown louder, not in volume, but in presence. Entire systems near the outer rim had stopped showing any life signs. Planets were left untouched but empty. No bodies, no structures damaged, no war, just nothing, vanished, as if someone or something had taken every soul without a trace. And still, the message kept playing, even closer now. A decrypted portion of the signal was finally uncovered. It was short, broken, full of static. But one part was now clear. Just 2 words, we remember. No one knew what that meant, but one old council historian, a Zuari monk who had studied human wars in Earth's ancient texts, went pale when he heard it. His voice trembled as he stood before the council. That phrase, he said, it was carved into the walls of an old human war memorial. I read it once, long ago. It was their warning to the stars. The council chamber fell silent. The monk spoke again. When humans say, we remember, it means they're coming. At that moment, a new alert spread across the central galactic network. Over a dozen human ships had been spotted on long range. Scans just outside the rim. But these weren't the diplomatic ships of Earth. These were warships. Old hulls. Black metal. No council insignia. No transmission codes. And no response. Their weapons were hot. Their shields active. And they were headed inward. The council scrambled. Some screamed for defenses. Others begged for negotiation. But deep inside, the void. Another signal followed the first one. Another voice clearer. This time, it spoke in human English. You took our seat at the table. Now you'll taste what we once held back. The outer rim wasn't silent anymore. It whispered of. War. In Earth was listening. The council chambers stood quiet now, like a tomb. What was once a place of endless debates, arrogant laughter, and judgment now echoed with silence. The Galactic Council, the oldest and most powerful governing body in the galaxy, had lost something. Far more valuable than power. They had lost trust. Deep below the main council tower, hidden beneath layers of shielding and misdirection fields, was a place known only to a few, the Vault of Species Containment. Only 5 beings in the entire galaxy had access to this vault, and now only 2 were left alive. Grand Historian Trilver moved through the dim corridors with careful steps. His hands trembled, not with age, but with fear. The vault wasn't meant to be opened. Not like this. Not in desperation. But now, after humanity's departure, after the Terran fleets vanished into deep space and Earth went dark, the Council was collapsing. Worlds were rebelling. Systems were disconnecting from the network. Trade routes were being seized by warlords. They needed leverage. Inside this vault were things even most council members didn't know existed. Files, recordings, and preserved evidence of ancient decisions, mistakes, warnings, lies. As Trilver reached the final door, he paused. A retinal scan confirmed his identity. The vault hissed open. A gust of cold, sterile air rushed past him. There, inside a transparent cube, flickered a recording marked Project Silence, Interaction with Species, 92 Terra. He hesitated. Then he tapped the console. The hologram activated. It began with grainy footage from nearly 300 years ago, long before humanity was formally introduced to the galaxy. A black site lab, alien researchers. A human child in a glass chamber, restrained, hooked to neural probes. The audio played a whisper. We found them too early. They weren't ready. But the energy readings unlike anything we've seen. Then chaos, screaming. The lights in the lab flickered. The recording blurred as something inside the chamber broke free. The screams of the scientists turned to shrieks. Blood sprayed across the lens. Then silence. Trilver froze. His breathing quickened. Next file. A council meeting. Secret session. One of the old species, the Arcs, slammed his tentacle on the table. They are not like the others. They adapt too fast. They see through our tech. The more we contain them, the stronger they become. We should erase them. Now, before they evolve again. But the vote didn't pass. Trilver backed away. There were dozens more files. Records of psychological experiments. Warfare simulations. Attempts to genetically study human resilience, empathy, aggression. Every experiment failed. Every subject turned. Dangerous. Worse. They remembered. The last file was the most chilling. A recording from just a few years ago. It was Earth's delegate at the council. A human woman named Dr. Leon Rourke. She stood tall in the council chamber, eyes calm, voice soft. We know everything. We know what you did before you welcomed us. You kept secrets. You studied. You, like animals, you tried to shape us. And now you pretend we are equals. You hope we never wake up to the truth. She looked around the chamber, her voice dropping to a whisper. You should have killed us when you had the chance. The feed ended. The vault dimmed. Trilver collapsed to his knees. He now understood why Earth had left. They had uncovered everything. And worst of all, they had chosen silence, not because they were weak, but because they were done warning. Suddenly, the emergency beacon in his pocket blinked red. An incoming transmission from Sector X-47. Trilver tapped it. Open. It was a live feed, a border outpost of the Young Confederacy. The camera showed darkness. Then flashes. A Terran ship, massive, black, silent, drifted through the void No weapons fired. Just presence. One by one, the Yuln ships powered down. Not because they were attacked, but because their systems crashed when the Terran vessel passed by. Then, a single message appeared across all known communication bands. We remember. Trilvar screamed, not in anger, but in horror. Because he finally understood what Project Silence really meant. It wasn't the Council keeping humanity quiet. It was humanity waiting for the right moment to speak. And that moment had begun. No ships moved. No messages came. No warnings arrived. For the first time in galactic history, the core sectors of the Council space were quiet. Entire relay stations that once buzzed with thousands of transmissions now lay dead silent, powerless. The stars looked the same, but something beneath that calm sky had changed. High above the Keldaric world of Novaxis, the night sky shimmered faintly. A strange pulse barely visible to the eye moved across the orbital layer like a ripple in water. But this ripple wasn't natural. It was artificial. A signal meant to do only one thing, deactivate everything. And it worked. Orbital cannons froze. Defense satellites shut down. Even civilian ships went dark, drifting silently as if some unseen hand had just removed their power. Why is it quiet? Supreme Strategist Coulter demanded, slamming his fist against the transparent command screen. I want answers. But no one answered. Because even their own systems were failing. Far below on the surface, civilians looked up. Some saw the shimmering line cross the stars and whispered prayers. Others locked their homes and waited. But no one knew the truth. No one. Except the humans. 30-7 hours earlier, a hidden fleet emerged from dark space just outside sensor range. Humans didn't roar. They didn't send threats. They didn't even activate full power. They just watched. Every captain had been given the same order. Wait. Commander Reyna Voss stood at the helm of the dreadnought Black Requiem. Her fingers hovered over the command ring, a small black band worn by senior fleet officers. She didn't speak. Her eyes were cold. Focused. Her second in command, Lieutenant Harrell, finally broke the silence. Ma'am, are we really doing this? Yes, Reyna replied. And the Council? What if they surrender now? They had their chance. Behind her, the rest of the command bridge crew looked uneasy. Not because they feared battle, but because they feared what came next. This wasn't war. This was judgment. At the edge of Novaxis space, small scout drones picked up the first movement. Human stealth vessels slipping between asteroid shadows. One drone tried to transmit. It failed. Another tried to escape. It vanished. The Keldaric military sent out 3 patrol ships to investigate. Only one returned. Its captain was insane, muttering a single phrase again and again. They erased sound. They erased light. By then, it was already too late. Humanity had surrounded the core. Council planets without firing a single shot. Their ships didn't use normal drive signatures. Their weapons left no trails. Their presence was like death itself, unseen, unstoppable. And now, the signal had been activated. On the bridge of Black Requiem, Reyna spoke again. Are the jammers working? Yes, Commander. Total blackout confirmed across all planetary systems. They cannot call for help, replied Harrell. And Council response fleets? Still scrambling. They're blind. No sensors, no long-range comms. They're guessing our location. Let them. She turned back toward the viewing screen. Play the message. A moment later, across every Council world still receiving signals, only one thing was broadcast. A human voice. Calm, cold, final, to the Galactic Council. You silenced our pleas. You ignored our warnings. You betrayed our trust. Now, it is our turn to be silent. Panic followed. The council's leaders argued, yelled, demanded answers from their intelligence networks. Nothing. There were no spies inside human systems anymore. There were no leaks. No intercepted transmissions. The humans had gone quiet for too long, and now their silence had become a weapon. On the neutral world of Virelin, a council historian named Merenthaler stared at the sky. She had once studied Earth's history. She had warned the council many times. Humans don't start wars the same way. They let the enemy make the first move. Then they end it completely. But no one had listened. And now she saw it coming like a dark tide, deep inside a secure chamber beneath the surface of Nuvaxis. Supreme Strategist Coulter received an unexpected file smuggled in by an old servant. It was a decrypted human archive. A war manual. Page 1 read. Step 1. Silence. The sky. Step 2. Cripple the defense. Step 3. Do not speak until it is done. Coulter's claws shook. He had mocked the humans, called them weak, voted for their expulsion. Now, his people would pay for his arrogance. He issued a desperate command to the surviving military fleet. Fall back, regroup, protect the core. But it was no use. The humans had already begun. Step 3. At 3:14 Galactic Standard Time, the skies opened. From above the shattered moons of Nuvaxis, the human fleet dropped in full force. But this wasn't an orbital bombardment. No, it was something far worse. They landed. Drop pods slammed into the ground with surgical precision. No cities were targeted, no civilians harmed. But military command centers, defense bases, government bunkers? Erased. The attacks lasted less than 22 minutes. When the last human pod left the surface, no infrastructure remained. Only smoking. Ruins and complete silence. In the aftermath, Raina Voss spoke one final command. Mark Nuvaxis as inert. The term was new. Cold. Official. It meant this world can no longer harm. It can no longer rise. It has no voice. And across the stars, more worlds were about to hear the same judgment. The Galactic Council scrambled. They tried to form emergency alliances. They tried to reach out through couriers and old signal buoys. But every time they reached for help, they found nothing. No response from allies. No words from Earth. Only silence. Some began to say Earth had become a ghost empire. A force that acted without speaking. Moved without being seen. Judged without warning. And for those who still believed in the old balance of power, it was already too late. The stars were silent until Earth answered. After the Council's betrayal, after the fleets, the lies, the war, and the death, only one thing remained: truth. And Earth had finally decided to speak it. The Galactic Council's core systems stood still. Thousands of planets, millions of ships, countless species, watching the remnants of what once was. But now, they feared something worse. Not humanity's wrath, not their weapons, but their silence. Then, from the far edge of space, near a forgotten dead zone, a signal was received, uncoded, open. Loud. The message came from an old Earth relay station, the kind built centuries ago. It had been thought destroyed, or at least abandoned, but now it pulsed with energy. And it broadcast only one thing, a voice. Human, calm, but cold. No court, no trial, no more councils. A pause. You invited us into your house, then betrayed us in it. Another pause, filled with static like thunder in deep space. We're not leaving the galaxy. You are. The signal ended. But the stars didn't fall silent this time. Something else followed. A transmission code buried in ancient human language. Binary Morse. English. It activated dormant probes hidden across dozens of council sectors. Probes Earth had seeded long ago, and they were still trusted. Each one released a cascade of nanoviruses harmless to humans but capable of disabling AI cores, ship power grids, translation systems. Chaos spread like wildfire. Council ships froze. Planetary shields blinked off. And then human ships appeared again. But not fleets, not armies. Just one ship per sector. Silent, black, no. Flags. Just presence. Each ship broadcast a simple warning. This space is under isolation. Galactic quarantine authorized by humanity. The council leaders panicked. They tried to communicate. They tried diplomacy, bribes, threats. But humanity never answered. They didn't need to. Instead, they changed every jump date leading to Earth space. Locked coordinates. Cut ties. Built walls. Earth had left the council. Now the galaxy was the one abandoned. Back on Earth, Commander Rhea stood in front of the last remaining planetary council. No longer global governments or corporate lords, but survivors and thinkers. Spoke only once to the gathered people of Earth and the human colonies. We won't forget what they did, but we will move forward without them. This galaxy is theirs no longer. A new beacon was lit in orbit, not a war signal, not a distress call. It simply blinked a single phrase in hundreds of languages. We remember everything. And across the galaxy, where human colonies had once been erased or enslaved, strange things began to happen. Ruins were rebuilt. Voices returned to the void. Was not just surviving. They were changing the galaxy. And this time, they were doing it alone.